Your best Japanese kitchen knife isn't the most expensive one. It's the one that stays sharp, feels natural in your hand, and makes cooking feel easier every single day. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which blade fits your cooking style and which good-looking knives you should probably skip. So I tested 5 popular Japanese-style knives that people keep buying online, and I'm ranking them from number 5 to number 1. We'll talk real cutting performance, comfort, what they're best at, and the little flaws that only show up once you actually use them. Number 5. HOSHANHO 7-inch Nakiri knife. The first time I picked up this HOSHANHO, I instantly liked the shape. It has that classic tall, flat Nakiri profile that's meant for push-cutting vegetables, think cabbage, carrots, onions, and big piles of herbs, and it really does fly through prep when you stay in that straight up and down motion. On paper, the build is impressive for the price. They claim a 5-layer composite construction with a 10C or 15 Como V inner core and a hardness around HRC 6062, plus a 15 degrees double bevel edge. In real use, it did come out feeling noticeably sharp, and when I went into dense veggies like sweet potato and butternut squash, it had that clean drop-through feeling you want from a thin edge. The handle on this version is red sandalwood, and I'll give it credit, it feels secure and looks premium, and the grip stayed stable even when my hands were slightly wet from rinsing produce. The balance also leans a bit toward the blade, which makes chopping feel efficient because you don't have to force the knife downward. It wants to work. But here's where it loses points for me. A Nakiri is amazing at vegetables. Yet, it's not as forgiving as a general chef's knife if your technique isn't consistent. The flat edge can punish you if you try to rock chop, and the tall blade can feel a little sail-like in tight spaces, like trimming small garlic cloves near the board edge. It's not unusable at all, it just asks you to cut the right way. Also, I wouldn't call it a do-it-all knife. The wide blade is awesome for scooping chopped food, but when I switched to tasks like slicing cooked meat or doing delicate tip work, I found myself reaching for something else. If your kitchen knife collection is small and you only want one main blade, this can feel a bit specialized, even though it performs well in its lane. Four, FAMCÜTE SHG0008. The FAMCÜTE aims to be more of a daily driver chef knife style, and I can see why people are drawn to it. It uses 9CR18 MOV steel and lists a hardness around HRC 60 plus MN2, which is a sweet spot for a lot of home cooks. Hard enough to hold an edge, not so hard that it feels overly fragile if you're careful. In use, what stood out first was how clean it felt when doing basic prep: onions, tomatoes, chicken breast, even fish. The blade geometry feels designed for general purpose work, and the brand also highlights features like food release and an angled edge that's meant to slice smoothly through ingredients rather than wedge and crack them apart. The handle is where I had mixed feelings. They describe an ergonomic design and a natural wood handle, African rosewood, and yes, it looks great and has that traditional vibe. But depending on your grip style, especially if you do a tight pinch grip for a long prep session, the shape can either feel supportive or a little bulky. I personally found it comfortable at first and slightly fatiguing later. Another thing, 9CR18 mauve can take a sharp edge, but it can also make you more aware of maintenance. If you're the type who throws knives in a sink, leaves them wet, or expects edge retention without any honing or touch-ups, you might be disappointed over time. This isn't really the knife's fault, it's just the reality of wanting sharp performance at this kind of hardness. Overall, I'd call it a good-looking, capable knife that works best for someone who wants a stylish, Japanese-style chef knife feel and doesn't mind learning a little knife care. But compared to the knives higher on this list, it didn't feel quite as effortless or locked in during longer sessions, and that's why it lands at number 4. 3. HOSHANHO Carving Slicing Knife. This is the knife I grabbed when I wanted clean, thin, satisfying slices, brisket, roast beef, turkey, even big fruits, and it's designed for exactly that, with a long blade meant to glide rather than saw. HOSHANHO highlights a 15-degree hand-polished edge and 10 CR15 Como V steel with 60 HRC hardness, and that tracks with the way it performed in my kitchen. When you pull it through cooked meat, it feels smooth and controlled, and you can get those long slices without shredding or tearing the surface. The packwood handle is another win here. It filled my hand nicely and felt stable when I was doing longer strokes, especially important for slicing knives, because a slippery grip plus a long blade is a recipe for anxiety. Comfort-wise, this was one of the easiest knives to use in the lineup. What I also liked is the less waste feeling you get with a properly sharpened slicer. Because it's designed to reduce resistance, you're not crushing meat fibers or hacking at them. You're taking clean passes, and that means better presentation and better texture when you actually eat it. The only reason it's not higher is simple. It's not a daily prep knife. It shines when you're slicing larger items, but you're not going to reach for a 12-inch carving blade to mince garlic or dice an onion, and most people only need this if they cook roasts, BBQ, or big proteins regularly. Two, Shanzu 2024-0039. What makes it stand out is that it's built around high-carbon Japanese-style steel they describe as G5, 10 CR15 move, with a claimed hardness up to 62 HRC and a laminated multi-layer approach. That combination usually signals better edge retention and a sharper, more precise feel when you're doing daily prep. In my testing, this knife felt ready to work right away. The edge bit into tomato skin without slipping, it stayed composed through dense ingredients, and it kept that crisp cutting sensation longer than the more budget-leaning knives lower on the list, especially when I was doing repeated board contact with vegetables. The packwood handle design is also a practical choice for a knife that's going to see everyday use. It felt secure in my grip, and I didn't get that weird slippery feeling you sometimes get with overly polished handles, which matters when you're moving fast and your hands are damp from rinsing produce. One more thing I liked: the set style positioning and presentation makes it feel like something you'd actually gift or keep on a magnetic strip proudly, without it looking like a cheap impulse buy. And while looks don't cut onions, they do matter if you're investing in something you'll use constantly. The only caution I'd give is that a harder edge wants smarter habits. No twisting in hard foods, no frozen stuff, no bones, and don't treat it like a beater knife. Do that, and this is the kind of knife that genuinely upgrades how cooking feels day to day. No one KAWAHIRO 210mm Japanese Kiritsuke knife. My number one pick is the KAWAHIRO because it hits that rare balance. It feels like a one-knife solution while still giving you that Japanese-style precision and control. The 210mm length is a sweet spot, long enough to slice confidently, short enough to stay nimble on a home cutting board. What I love about a Kiritsuke profile is the way it encourages clean, intentional cuts. You get a strong, flat section for push cutting, plus a tip that feels precise for detail work, like trimming, scoring, or working around small ingredients, so you're not constantly switching knives mid-recipe. KAWAHIRO also positions its 210mm VG10 steel knives as sharp, durable, and corrosion-resistant, and that's exactly the vibe I got when using this style of blade for everyday tasks. It had that glide through onions and proteins that makes prep feel smoother, and I didn't feel like I had to muscle the knife to get clean results. This is also the knife in the lineup that most consistently made me faster. Not because it's magic, but because it felt predictable. When a blade tracks straight, stays sharp, and responds the same way every time, you stop thinking about the knife and start thinking about the food. If you want one Japanese-style knife that can handle most kitchen tasks with a premium feel, and you're willing to treat it with basic respect, this Kiritsuke format at 210mm is the one I'd personally keep on my counter.